The reading of the most set apart scripture, Genesis through Revelation, the first book of the Torah, Bereshith, also known as Genesis, chapter 27. And it came to be, when Yishak was old, and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called Esau, his elder son, and said to him, My son. And he answered him, Here I am. And he said, See now, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt wild game for me, and make me a tasty dish, such as I love, and bring it to me to eat, in order that my being does bless you before I die. And Ribkah heard when Yishak spoke to Esau, his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt game and to bring it. And Ribkah spoke to Jacob, her son, saying, See, I heard your father speak to Esau, your brother, saying, Bring me wild game, and make me a tasty dish to eat, and bless you in the presence of YAHUAH before my death. And now, my son, listen to my voice, according to what I command you. Please go to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, and I make a tasty dish from them for your father, such as he loves. And you shall take it to your father, and he shall eat it, so that he might bless you before his death. And Jacob said to Ribkah, his mother, See, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. What if my father touches me? Then I shall be like a deceiver in his eyes, and shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. But his mother said to him, Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice, and go get them for me. And he went and fetched them and brought them to his mother. And his mother made a tasty dish, such as his father loved. And Ribkah took the best garments of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And she put the skins of the young goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. Then she gave the tasty dish and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. And he went to his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am. Who are you, my son? And Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you said to me. Please rise, sit, and eat of my wild game, so that your being might bless me. But Yishak said to his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because YAHUAH, your Elohim, brought it to me. Then Yishak said to Jacob, Please come near, so that I feel you, my son, whether you truly are my son Esau or not. And Jacob went near to Yishak, his father, and he felt him and said, The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy, like his brother. Esau's hands, and he blessed him. And he said, "Are you truly my son Esau?" And he said, "I am." And he said, "Bring it near to me, and let me eat of my son's wild game, so that my being might bless you." So he brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Yishak said to him, "Please come near and kiss me, my son." And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his garments, and blessed him, and said, "See, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field which Yahuwah has blessed. And Elohim give you of the dew of the heavens, of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let peoples serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those cursing you, and blessed be those blessing you." And it came to be as soon as Yishak had finished blessing Yaakov, and Yaakov had hardly left the presence of Yishak his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he too had made a tasty dish, and brought it to his father, and said to his father, "Let my father rise and eat of his son's wild game, so that your being might bless me." And his father Yishak said to him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am your son, your firstborn Esau." Then Yishak trembled exceedingly, and said, Who was it then who hunted wild game and brought it to me? And I ate all of it before you came, and I have blessed him. Yes, he is blessed." When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, "Bless me too, O my father." And he said, "Your brother came with deceit and took your blessing." And Esau said, "Was his name then called Jacob? For he has caught me by the heel these 2 times. He took my birthright, and see, now he has taken my blessing." And he said, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" Then Yishak answered and said to Esau, "See, I have made him your master, and all his brothers I have given to him as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and wine. And what then shall I do for you, my son?" And Esau said to his father, "Have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Yishak his father answered and said to him, "See, your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of the heavens from above, and by your sword you are to live, and serve your brother. And it shall be, when you grow restless, that you shall break his yoke from your neck." And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, "The days of mourning for my father draw near. Then I am going to kill my brother Jacob." And the words of Esau, her older son, were reported to Ribkah. And she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said to him, See, your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you to kill you. And now, my son, listen to my voice, and rise, flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him a few days until your brother's wrath turns away, until your brother's displeasure turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. And I shall send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved of you both in one day? And Ribkah said to Yishak, I am disgusted with my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Yaakov takes a wife from the daughters of Heth, like these two are the daughters of the land, what is my life to me? Chapter 28. And Yishak called Yaakov and blessed him and commanded him and said to him, Do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take a wife for yourself from there, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. And El Shaddai bless you, and make you fruitful, and increase you, and you shall become an assembly of peoples, and give you the blessing of Abraham to you and your seed with you, so that you inherit the land of your sojournings, which Elohim gave to Abraham. So Yishak sent Jacob away, and he went to Padan Aram, to Laban, son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Ribkah, mother of Jacob and Esau. And Esau saw that Yishak had blessed Jacob, and sent him away to Padan Aram, to take himself a wife from there, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a command, saying, Do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother, and had gone to Padan Aram. So Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan did not please his father Yishak. And Esau went to Ishmael and took Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife, besides the wives he had. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he came upon a place and stopped over for the night, for the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of that place and put it at his head, and he lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed and saw a ladder set up on the earth, and its top reached to the heavens, and saw messengers of Elohim going up and coming down on it. And see, Yahuwah stood above it and said, I am Yahuwah, Elohim of Abraham, your father, and the Elohim of Yishak. The land on which you are lying, I give it to you and your seed. And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall break forth to the west and to the east, to the north and the south, and all the clans of the earth shall be blessed in you and in your seed. And see, I am with you, and shall guard you wherever you go, and shall bring you back to this land. For I am not going to leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you. And Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, Truly, Yahuwah is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of the heavens. And Jacob rose early in the morning and took the stone that he had put at his head, set it up as a standing column, and poured oil on top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. However, the name of that city had been Luz previously. And Jacob made a vow, saying, Seeing Elohim is with me, and has kept me in this way that I am going, and has given me bread to eat and a garment to put on, when I have returned to my father's house in peace, and Yahuwah has been my Elohim, then this stone which I have set as a standing column shall be Elohim's house, and of all that you give me, I shall certainly give a tenth to you. Chapter 29. And Jacob lifted up his feet and came to the land of the sons of the east. And he looked and saw a well in the field, and saw 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a large stone was on the well's mouth. And all the flocks would be gathered there. Then they would roll the stone from the well's mouth, and water the sheep, and put the stone back in its place on the well's mouth. So Jacob said to them, My brothers, where are you from? And they said, We are from Haran. And he said to them, Do you know Laban, son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. So he said to them, Is he well? And they said, Well, and see, his daughter Rahel is coming with the sheep. And he said, See, it is still high day, not the time for the livestock to be gathered together. Water the sheep and go and feed them. But they said, We are not allowed until all the flocks are gathered together, and they have rolled the stone from the well's mouth. Then we shall water the sheep. While he was still speaking with them, Rahel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. And it came to be when Jacob saw Rahel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rahel and lifted up his voice and wept. And when Jacob told Rahel that he was his father's relative and that he was Ribkah's son, she ran and told her father. And it came to be when Laban heard the report about Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Then he told Laban all these matters. And Laban said to him, You are indeed my bone and my flesh. And he stayed with him for a new moon. Then Laban said to Jacob, Because you are my relative, should you therefore serve me for naught? Let me know what should your wages be. And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rahel. And Leah's eyes were weak, but Rahel was beautiful of form and beautiful of appearance. And Jacob loved Rahel. So he said, let me serve you 7 years for Rahel, your younger daughter. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to you than that I should give her to another man. Stay with me. So Jacob served 7 years for Rahel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of the love he had for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, give me my wife, for my days are completed, and let me go into her. And Laban gathered all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to be in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to Jacob. And he went into her. And Laban gave his female servant Zilpah to his daughter Leah as a female servant. And in the morning it came to be that, see, it was Leah. So he said to Laban, what is this you have done to me? Was it not Rahel that I served you? Why then have you deceived me? And Laban said, it is not done this way in our place, to give the younger before the firstborn. Complete the week of this one, then we give you this one too, for the service which you shall serve with me still another 7 years. And Jacob did so and completed her week. Then he gave him his daughter Rahel too as wife. And Laban gave his female servant Bilhah to his daughter Rahel as a female servant. And he also went into Rahel, and he loved Rahel more than Leah. And he served with Laban still another 7 years. And Yahuwah saw that Leah was unloved, and he opened her womb, but Rahel was barren. And Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, for Yahuwah has looked on my affliction, because now my husband is going to love me. And she conceived again, and bore a son, and said, because Yahuwah has heard that I am unloved, he gave me this son too. And she called his name Shimon. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, now this time my husband is joined to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. So his name was called Levi. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, now I praise Yahuwah. So she called his name Yahudah, and she ceased bearing. Chapter 30. And Rahel saw she bore Jacob no children. Rahel envied her sister, and said to Jacob, give me children, or else I am going to die. And Jacob's displeasure burned against Rahel. And he said, am I in the place of Elohim, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb? And she said, see, my female servant Bilhah, go into her, and let her bear for me, and let me be built up from her as well. So she gave him Bilhah, her female servant, as wife. And Jacob went into her, and Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. And Rahel said, Elohim has rightly ruled my case, and has also heard my voice, and given me a son. So she called his name Dan. And Rahel's female servant Bilhah conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son. And Rahel said, with great wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and I have overcome. So she called his name Naphtali. And Leah saw that she had ceased bearing, and she took Zilpah, her female servant, and gave her to Jacob as wife. And Leah's female servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. And Leah said, fortune comes. So she called his name Gad. And Leah's female servant Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. And Leah said, I am happy, for the daughters shall call me happy. So she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found love apples in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. And Rahel said to Leah, please give me some of your son's love apples. But she said to her, is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's love apples too? And Rahel said, therefore let him lie with you tonight for your son's love apples. And when Jacob came out of the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, do come in to me, for indeed I have hired you with my son's love apples. And he lay with her that night. And Elohim listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. And Leah said, Elohim has given me my hire, because I have given my female servant to my husband. So she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah said, Elohim has presented me with a good present. Now my husband is going to dwell with me, because I have borne him six sons. So she called his name Zebulun. And afterward she bore a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And Elohim remembered Rahel, and Elohim listened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bore a son, and said, Elohim has taken away my reproach. So she called his name Joseph, and said, Yahuwah has added to me another son. And it came to be when Rahel had borne Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, send me on my way to go to my own place and to my land. Give my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you yourself know my service which I have done for you. And Laban said to him, if I have found favor in your eyes, please stay, for I have diligently watched that Yahuwah has blessed me for your sake. And he said, name me your wages, and I give it. So he said to him, you know how I have served you, and how your livestock has been with me. For the little you had before I came has increased greatly, and Yahuwah has blessed you since my coming. But now when I am to provide for my but now when am I to provide for my own house too? And he said, what do I give you? And Jacob said, give me naught. If you do this for me, I shall again feed and guard your flocks. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from there all the speckled and spotted sheep, and all the black ones among the lambs, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and these shall be my wages. And my righteousness shall answer for me in time to come, when you come concerning my wages. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and black among the lambs, it is stolen, if it is with me. And Laban said, See, let it be according to your word. And on that day he set aside the male goats that were speckled and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had some white in it, and all the black ones among the lambs, and gave them into the hand of his sons. And he put 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob, and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Jacob took for himself rods of green poplar, and of the almond and chestnut trees, peeled white strips in them, and exposed the white which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters, in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink. And they conceived when they came to drink. So the flocks conceived before the rods, and the flocks brought forth streaked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob separated the lambs and made the flocks face toward the streaked, and all the black in the flock of Laban. But he put his own flocks by themselves and did not put them with Laban's flocks. And it came to be, whenever the strong ones of the flock conceived, that Jacob placed the rods before the eyes of the flock in the gutters, so they would conceive among the rods. But when the flocks were weak, he did not put them in. So the weak ones were Laban's, and the strong ones Jacob's. Thus the man increased very much, and had many flocks, and female and male servants, and camels and donkeys. Chapter 31. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what belonged to our father he has made all this wealth. And Jacob would look at the face of Laban and see that it was not toward him as before. And YAHUAH said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I am with you. And Jacob sent and called Rahel and Leah to the field, to his flock, and said to them, I see your father's face, that it is not toward me as before, but the Elohim of my father has been with me, and you know that I have served your father with all my strength. Yet your father has deceived me and changed my wages 10 times. But Elohim did not allow him to do evil to me. When he said this, the speckled are your wages, then all the flocks bore speckled. And when he said this, the streaked are your wages, then all the flocks bore streaked. So Elohim has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. And it came to be at the time when the flocks conceived that I lifted my eyes and looked in a dream and saw the rams which leaped upon the flocks were streaked, speckled, and mottled. And the messenger of Elohim spoke to me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift your eyes now and see all the rams which leap on the flocks are streaked, speckled, and mottled, for I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the El of Bethel, where you anointed the standing column, and where you made a vow to me. Now rise up, get out of this land, and return to the land of your relatives. And Rahel and Leah answered and said to him, do we still have any portion or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not reckoned by him as strangers? For he has sold us and also entirely consumed our silver. For all the wealth which Elohim has taken from our father is ours and our children's. Now, then, do whatever Elohim has told you. So Jacob rose and put his sons and his wives on camels, and he drove off all his livestock and all his possessions which he had acquired, his property of the livestock which he had acquired in Padan Aram, to go to his father Ishak in the land of Canaan. And when Laban had gone to shear his sheep, Rahel stole the house idols that were her father's. And Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean because he did not inform him that he was about to flee. And he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river and headed toward the mountains of Gilead. And on the third day Laban was told that Jacob had fled. Then he took his brothers with him and pursued him for 7 days' journey. And he overtook him in the mountains of Gilead. But in a dream by night, Elohim came to Laban, the Aramean, and said to him, guard yourself that you do not speak to Jacob either good or evil. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountains, and Laban with his brothers pitched in the mountains of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, what have you done, that you have deceived me, and driven my daughters off like captives, taken with the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me, and not inform me? And I would have sent you away with joy, and songs with tambourine and lyre. And you did not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Now you have been foolish to do this. It is in the power of my hand to do evil to you, but the Elohim of your fathers spoke to me last night, saying, guard yourself, that you do not speak to Jacob either good or evil. And now you have gone because you greatly longed for your father's house. But why did you steal my mighty ones? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I said, lest you tear your daughters away from me. With whomever you find your mighty ones, do not let him live. In the presence of our brothers, see for yourself what is with me, and take it with you. For Jacob did not know that Rahel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tents of the two female servants, but he did not find them. And he came out of Leah's tent and entered Rahel's tent. Now Rahel had taken the house idols and put them in the camel's saddle and sat on them. And Laban searched all about the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her father, let it not displease my master that I am unable to rise before you, for the way of women is with me. And he searched, but did not find the house idols. And Jacob was wroth and contended with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, what is my transgression? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Now that you have searched all my goods, What have you found of all your household goods? Set it here before my brothers and your brothers, and let them decide between the two of us. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried. They're young, and I have not eaten the rams of your sheep. That which was torn by beast I did not bring to you. I myself bore the loss of it. You required it from my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was, day by day, the heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I have served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock. And you have changed my wages 10 times. Unless the Elohim of my father, the Elohim of Abraham, and the fear of Yishak had been with me, you would now have sent me away empty-handed. Elohim has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rendered judgment last night. And Laban answered and said to Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and this flock is my flock, and all that you see is mine. But what shall I do today to these, my daughters, or to their children, whom they have borne? And now, come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and it shall be a witness between you and me. So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a standing column. And Jacob said to his brothers, Gather stones. And they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there on the heap. And Laban called to Yegar Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Galed. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between you and me today. That is why its name was called Galed. Also Mizpah, because he said, Let Yahuwah watch between you and me when we are out of each other's sight. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take other wives beside my daughters, although no man is with us, see, Elohim is witness between you and me. And Laban said to Jacob, See this heap, and see this standing column, which I have placed between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this standing column is a witness that I do not pass beyond this heap to you, and you do not pass beyond this heap and this standing column to me for evil. The Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Nahor, and the Elohim of their father rightly rule between us. And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Yishak. And Jacob slaughtered a slaughtering on the mountain, and called his brothers to eat bread. And they ate bread and spent the night on the mountain. And Laban rose up early in the morning and kissed his sons and daughters and blessed them. And Laban left and returned to his place. Chapter 32. And Jacob went on his way, and the messengers of Elohim met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, This is the camp of Elohim. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir, the field of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, say this to my master Esau. Your servant Jacob said this, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed there until now, and I have bulls and donkeys, flocks and male and female servants, and I have sent to inform my master to find favor in your eyes. So the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you, and 400 men with him. And Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, so he divided the people that were with him, and the flocks and herds and camels into two groups. And he said, if Esau come to the one group and strikes it, then the other group which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O Elohim of my father Abraham, and Elohim of my father Yishak, Yahuwah, who said to me, return to your land and to your relatives, and I do good to you. I do not deserve the least of all the loving commitment and all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I passed over this Yarden with my staff, and now I have become two groups. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and shall strike me and the mother with the children. For you said, I shall certainly do good to you, and shall make your seed as the sand of the sea, which are too numerous to count. And he spent the night there, and took what came to his hand as a present for Esau his brother, 200 female goats, and 20 male goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 suckling camels with their colts, 40 cows, and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 foals. And he gave into the hand of his servants every drove by itself, and said to his servants, pass over before me, and put some distance between drove and drove. And he commanded the first one, saying, when Esau my brother meets you and asks you, saying, to whom do you belong, and where are you going, and whose are these in front of you? Then you shall say, they are your servant Jacob's. It is a present sent to my master Esau. And see, he also is behind us. So he commanded the second and the third and all who followed the droves, saying, speak to Esau this same word when you find him. And you shall say, also, look, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, let me appease him with the present that goes before me, and after that see his face, he might accept me. And the present passed over before him, but he himself spent the night in the camp. And he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 female servants and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the stream, and sent over what he had. And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. And when he saw that he did not overcome him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was dislocated as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaks. But he said, I am not letting you go until you have blessed me. So he asked him, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, your name is no longer called Jacob, But Yisrael, because you have striven with Elohim and with men, and have overcome. And Jacob asked him, saying, Please let me know your name. And he said, Why do you ask about my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. And the sun rose on him as he passed over Penuel, and he limped on his hip. That is why the children of Israel to this day do not eat the sinew of the hip, which is on the socket of the thigh, because he touched the socket of the thigh of Jacob in the sinew of the hip.